Sniffling because it's cold, not because I'm crying. Maybe a little. Alright, see you later. You crying, Dad?
Yeah, I'm crying.
I can tell.
Tears of sadness.
It's on the inside.
That's awful.
Dad's last brand new sprayer he bought. I don't know, maybe someday we'll get another brand new one. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about buying a sprayer. I actually just sold our old 4830 and just kind of talking to the guy, just thought maybe this might be a good video to make. So, you know, we buy our sprayers usually a little used, saves us a lot of money, and you know, they're expensive, so it makes sense to buy used. You know, you want to buy something good and that will work a long time, run great. But if you're buying used, sometimes it's your first time buying and you don't know what to look for, or you're upgrading models and you don't know what to look for. So I just hold a 4830, so I'll kind of talk about what you should look for on that when you're buying something, and stuff to watch for while you're running it, maintenance things. And on the 4038, 4045, pretty much the same sprayer. Okay, so here are my three sprayers. They all got floaters on them right now, so they're all pretty much ready to go. So when I'm buying a used sprayer, I kind of look for a couple things. The main thing is the boom. I always check the boom, look for any weak points there. See anything's bad, I'll go over what to look for there. I also look for the maintenance on the computer, see if anything's gotten done, and then I talk to the salesman and find out some background information, what work John Deere's done on it, because that helps to see what's been done, if there's been any upgrades or engine problems or bad stuff. So that's good to check. And then on the computer, I'll show you how to check the service intervals and just make sure they've always been doing that. So let's look at the boom. So when you're buying a sprayer, so a 4038 versus a 4830, completely different sprayer. But it's a sprayer all the same. The 4038 is 100 times better. The newer ones are way better, but they still have a few things to look for. So out here on your boom, right here, you have bushings that you need to look for. Let's see if I can get a better shot of this. And if they're ever starting to fray, it's not the big thing, just make sure it's not wearing on metal, and then replace them. It's pretty inexpensive to replace them, but you got to watch out for that. In a 40, sorry, I'm going to probably mess up my numbers a lot here because they're so similar, but in a 4830, they have bolts out there, and that's a super weak point. And so just make sure there's not a ton of welding there, that they haven't had huge issues there. Mine, I had cut off and beefed up, so that was kind of a bonus, but just something to look for. So check there. And then also your breakaway, gotta look at that. Usually I like to open that and see if there's any cracks on the inside that you can't see when it's folded straight. That was a huge problem on the old sprayer, on the 4830. And I would change the bolts back there and on the breakaway well, it's more like every 200 hours, every 10,000 acres. So I would replace that. If you're not running that much, I would replace them at least once a year, because they do wear out and they break, and it sucks to be stuck in a field at midnight trying to figure out getting things fixed. So that's something to look for. Okay, so back here in the back, let's see if I can show this better. So back here you got these main bars that kind of let the boom down and up, and they kind of got these bolts. Oops, see if I can show you. Kind of follow me, camera. Okay, right here there's these bolts, some up here, there's some, you know, up here on the other side, and they'll sometimes U out. And if you ever have a problem folding up, sometimes you got to replace those. If your boom is not folding right, you probably got a pin or something worn out, and those are kind of important, because if one of those breaks, your back here will start to flex and it'll kind of crack that frame on that part that lets your boom up and down. And I've had that happen, and it's kind of sucks. It was a big crack. It was, you know, a gap that big, so it took a while to get that, you know, pushed back together and weld, and then I had to beef everything up, and kind of ended up being a little expensive to fix that. But that's kind of what I check on the boom. A big important thing to me is rust. Stuff out in the Midwest is always super rusty, so I always check for rust and just see if it's just surface rust or if it's worse. So that's something to look at as well. So my suggestion to everyone, when you have downtime, just check your boom, check for cracks, get everything welded, ready to go. Every time I have a windy day, that's the first thing we do, is check for cracks, bolts. Okay, but there are a few more things that I do check, other than, you know, the boom, service intervals, and talking to the salesman. And I'll kind of go over that, and maybe a few other maintenance things to look out for. So first are your fuel filters. I think they change every 500 on the newer sprayers, and then on the older ones, the 4830, it's every 250. Your oil's every 500 on the new ones, 250 on the old ones. Daily stuff would be just grease all of your grease inserts on here. On the old sprayer, they were kind of more over here. So daily I grease the wheels. Your steering components were every 50 hours, I believe. So something else to check too is your steering arm here. So this is what I call the arm, and your cylinder here, and then this is called the knee. And if you're buying prior to 2015 on a 4038, this is a lot smaller. So this is actually the one that is small, and so it has a crack on the other side. I probably won't show it though. So I'm constantly changing these bolts, but on the new one, they are a lot stronger, beefier, and it's about 20,000 to do both sides, 10,000 a piece. So that's why I haven't done it yet, but it is nice. Over here is what they look like when they're heat up. Got an extra set of bolts in there as well. So just a lot stronger, a lot better. I don't know why they're honking at me. And then you also need to check your hub oil. So about every 500 hours, you're supposed to change that. I do it about a year because that's a little longer than I probably should, but it works good. I've never had a problem. So check your hub oil. Your hydraulic oil, you need to check every, I believe it's 1,000 hours on the new sprayer, and on the old one, so 4830, is every 500 hours. But yeah, I'll hop into the cab real quick and we can see kind of what to look at for your service intervals. Hopefully the sprayer isn't dead. This one has a bad battery I haven't replaced yet, so we'll see. Oh, another nice feature on a 4038 is it's got this Murphy switch. The old sprayers did not have that. All right, up in here. Okay, so going back to talking to the salesperson, I feel like salespeople are becoming a little obsolete. You can find anything you want on the internet, but if you don't know what you're buying, it is good to talk to them. And my favorite thing is to just see what work has been done on this sprayer, especially if it's a local trade-in. They can tell you exactly what's been done, and usually they can pull a report off John Deere, and you can see exactly what's been done. It's kind of nice. I was able to see every little time the sprayer had been in. It looked like they'd taken it in for all the oil changes and other things like that. John Deere done most of the maintenance on it. So that was nice to see. And then I felt a lot more comfortable buying this machine, knowing nothing major had been done to it. They hadn't had major issues with it. So that was kind of nice. So that's why I always recommend talking to the salesperson. And the other thing is, if as far as maintenance goes and running a machine, just read the manual. Just follow those service intervals, and I don't feel like you'll ever have a problem. I myself cannot keep them straight, so I'm constantly having to refer back to the book and double check, make sure I'm right. And I just keep track on my computer screen. So every time it says an interval is up, you know, like you've hit 50 hours, you hit 100 hours, I just pull up the book, make sure I'm not forgetting anything, and then continue on my way. It's pretty simple. I will try to show that here in a minute, but currently it is not working. Well, it takes a long time to load. It hasn't been on for a while. Okay, so here's the screen. So it looks very similar on a 2630. This is a Gen 4 display. Pretty similar though. So if you come back to this screen right here, you can hit this little arrow. On a 2630, it looks, I guess that is my closest looking page. So Usually it'll look something more like this. If you hit this one with the arrow with the dot above it, go to vehicle setup, and that will show you your intervals. So it's kind of hard to see. It will focus. But right here, you know, it says I have 2.5 out of 50 hours, 2.5 out of 100, 207 out of the 250 intervals, and same for out of the 500. Whenever I'm spraying, and it'll send me a notification when I've hit one of these service intervals, and as soon as I get home, I do the service, and I clear it out, and then I'm ready to go. And that way I never lose track of my maintenance. And I feel like that's something super important, and you can kind of see if they've been using this. And that's something I check for when I'm buying a sprayer, to see how well they've been servicing their machine. On the Gen 4 displays, if you come to, sometimes they have this maintenance on machine settings, and you click on that and it'll list any service intervals they've done. Some guys like this, some guys don't. I don't like it. I don't find it very beneficial because I have the other one. So guys will write down here if they've ever done any work on it. That's kind of nice sometimes to just see if they've done anything. But as far as service intervals, that's what I check for. And then just check the sprayer. Just see, you can tell what kind of operator was in here, how hammered it is, how well they maintained it, just how clean it is. I feel like that's a big indication on what kind of person was in there. And yeah, so that's what I recommend. Just, you know, check the boom and check the boom. That's the most important thing. Check those few other things I mentioned. Talk to the salesperson, see if they can pull a list of what work's been done at John Deere on it, and then check your service intervals. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope this was useful to anyone buying a sprayer for the first time or buying a used sprayer for the first time. So if you liked the video, go ahead and subscribe, and hopefully I'll have some more good videos on sprayer maintenance and just what we do here and our little journey trying to get more sprayers and grow our spraying business.